What do you do when the person who shattered your world reappears with a gift that could either heal or destroy you all over again? 3 years ago, Emily Carter's life was a canvas of vibrant dreams, until her husband, Daniel, tore it apart. Their marriage, once a tapestry of shared laughter and quiet mornings, unraveled when she found him in their bed with another woman. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was physical, a wound that festered. The stress triggered a cascade of health issues: chronic migraines, sleepless nights, and a heart condition that left her breathless, tethered to medications and a life she barely recognized. Emily, once a marathon runner, could no longer walk a block without pain. Daniel, unapologetic, vanished with his new love, leaving her to pick up the pieces of a life he'd ruined. The years that followed were a battle. Emily fought through hospital stays, mounting bills, and the cruel whispers of pity from friends. Her spirit, though battered, refused to break. She found solace in small victories: a job at a local bookstore, a tiny apartment filled with plants she nurtured like children, and a therapist who helped her reclaim her voice. Yet, the scars of Daniel's affair lingered, a quiet ache in her chest that no pill could soothe. She learned to live with it, to carry the weight, to smile through the exhaustion. But moving on, that was a dream she couldn't quite reach. One rainy evening, as Emily locked up the bookstore, a familiar figure stood under the awning across the street. Daniel. Her heart stuttered, not with love, but with the ghost of rage and hurt. He looked older, his once charming grin replaced by a nervous tic. In his hands was a small weathered box, its edges frayed. He crossed the street, rain soaking his coat, and stopped before her. No words, just the box extended like an offering. "I'm sorry," he muttered, voice barely audible over the downpour. Before she could respond, he turned and disappeared into the night. Emily stood frozen, the box heavy in her hands. Back in her apartment, she sat at her kitchen table, staring at it. What could he possibly give her now? An apology couldn't undo the hospital stays, the nights she'd cried herself to sleep, the dreams she'd buried. Curiosity won over dread, and she opened it. Inside was a journal, its pages filled with Daniel's handwriting. Her breath caught as she read the first line. "To Emily, the truth I owe you." The journal chronicled his life since the affair. At first, it was a boastful recounting of his new relationship, his escape from their stifling marriage. But the tone shifted. The woman he left Emily for had left him, taking his money and his pride. He'd spiraled, lost his job, his friends, his health. The pages grew raw, confessing his guilt, his regret, his realization that his actions had broken not just her heart but her body. In one entry he wrote, "I see you in every pain I feel now, and I know I caused yours." Tucked in the back was a letter folded tightly. It wasn't an apology, it was a plea. Daniel was dying, a terminal illness eating away at him. He'd written the journal to face his sins, to give Emily the truth she'd never gotten. The letter begged her not to forgive him but to find peace, to live fully despite what he'd done. Enclosed was a check, every cent he had left, enough to cover her medical debts and more. Emily's hands trembled. Part of her wanted to burn the journal, to shred the check. He didn't get to buy absolution. But as she read his words again, something shifted. The journal wasn't just his confession. It was a mirror to her own pain, a chance to see it from the outside. She didn't owe him forgiveness, but she owed herself freedom. The money could clear her debts, maybe even fund the surgery her doctors had urged her to consider. It wasn't justice, but it was a start. Days later, Emily stood at the edge of a park, the journal in one hand, the check in the other. She'd decided to keep the money, not for him but for her. She'd use it to rebuild, to run again, to live. The journal, though, she tossed it into a trash bin. His truth was his to carry, not hers. As she walked away, the ache in her chest felt lighter, not gone but bearable. Emily didn't know if she'd ever fully heal, but for the first time in 3 years, she felt the stirrings of hope. The man who'd broken her had returned, not to fix her, but to remind her she was already mending. And that, she realized, was the greatest gift of all: not his money, not his words, but the strength she'd found within herself to keep going.